Pregnant lady, 8 months pregnant, needed to get from Tampa and evacuate to Atlanta. And we did it. We were able to get there. There was no fuel. It was a whole mission, but we got her out, and so it has a day bed. So she was able to lie down. She laid down the whole trip. She used the restroom a couple times. We did not stop. So from Tampa to Atlanta, the bus did not stop.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Mark with Limo Marketer. I'm joined here by Christopher Watkins from C-Suite Limousine out of Palm Beach, Florida. Thanks for doing this, Christopher.
My pleasure, Mark.
Of course. Awesome. So Christopher and I were talking about a week ago, and he got to talking about how we first met, how he first stumbled across this YouTube channel, and that he had, implemented some things, starting to get some results. And then he pretty much started talking about sales. And it was then that I realized, okay, this guy really knows what he's talking about with regards to sales, talking about qualifying prospects. And so I could tell he was not at all intimidated by tech, by things like CRMs, platforms where you have automations going. And so I started asking him a little bit about his background, but I realized that, hey, this would be an interesting person to have on to kind of hear how you got in the industry and everything. So let's start there. So before the limo industry, before it was even a thought in your mind, what were you doing professionally?
Thank you. Yeah, so professionally, for about 15 years, I was a engineer. I was in computer science. I finished my career as a technical project manager before I transitioned into owning a limo business. Before that, I was also in network engineering and server engineering. So from those technical backgrounds, it does help a lot in the limo business. But what sparked my interest in this business, I was traveling in 2014 to San Francisco, traveling with the wife, and we had landed somewhere in San Francisco, and we normally rent a car, but we hadn't got the rental yet. And someone had mentioned, maybe it was, I don't know if it was social media or a friend had mentioned this new app called Uber.
Yeah.
So we were at, I think, like the San Francisco fairgrounds or something. It was something with a pier, something with I don't know. It was some sort of festival area. And we're like, hey, we need to get back to the hotel. Let's try this Uber app. We download the app and we order an Uber, and it was absolutely mind blowing. It was the most amazing experience. Versus calling a cab, because if you lived in Miami 15, 20 years ago, trying to get a cab was absolute hell. The experience of going through and getting a taxi, and then they show up or they don't. So to be able to use your phone and to be able to see who was coming and see the GPS. And in San Francisco, in those days, because they tested everything there, the share feature was by default. So there was no share; it just was Uber. So if you got an Uber and then the driver got another person, so we ended up picking up another couple. So there was 4 of us in the back of or whatever. It was like,
I didn't realize that
it
was shared, like initially when they first started
in San Francisco. It was shared. There was no delineation between the two. So now we were sitting there, we struck up a conversation, we were there for like a couple days, and so were they. So, it just became a social experience, and it was really amazing. And it got me thinking, hey, I heard that they were launching in Miami or whatever, or maybe they were already in Miami at that point. I'm like, maybe I'll do this when I get back. Maybe I'll do this for extra money. I love driving. Before I met my wife, I wanted to do something in driving, either race car driving or something like that. So I was always interested in driving from an auxiliary standpoint. It's something I'm passionate about. I do have some sim racing stuff. I do.
Oh, cool. Like F1 type stuff. Very cool.
I have a successful sim racing team. I've sim raced for 15 years. So I do have some background in driving. So I'm like, okay, let me get back to Miami. Maybe I'll do it. 6 months go by, and I have an engineering job that is 58, 60 miles from the house. It's in Boca Raton, and I have to do a commute. So I'm doing this commute, and I'm like, maybe I'll start trying to do this Uber thing. So I get, I have no idea what to do. So I get an E-Class and I uh, start trying it. I do like one or two trips and immediately return the car um, because I realized once I learned the platform and got onboarded, I try and be as efficient as possible all the time. So I saw that there was a particular car that was eligible for what was called Lux SUV. Lux SUV at the time was $5 a mile. It was, you know, I don't know, $1.25 wait time. Like it was really, really good pay. This is way before Uber stopped paying really good rates in South Florida. And the cheapest car that qualified was a JX35. You can get one for like $30,000. Got it in black and began to run that. Basically, from there, I would do it in between shifts. So before my shift and after my shift, I'd work maybe 1 or 2 hours. I did that for a couple of years, and I learned the city. I learned where the money was, where the money wasn't, the ebbs and flows, and then I hit it really, really hard. So what would this be? I guess maybe 2016 to 2018, 2019 ish.
Okay.
There were no limits on Uber. There were no restrictions on driving, and the pay was amazing. I'd do my day job, and then I'd run 24 hours. So I'd sleep in the car. I would hustle very, very hard, and I pretty much every single day coming back. So what happened is I was an engineer and I was working overnight. So I would get off work just in time to catch the red eyes out of Delray Beach, Florida. And
Okay.
this is what made my business. So my whole business, my whole everything came out of being available at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning in Delray Beach, Florida.
Yeah.
Delray Beach,
It's a nice
Florida
little niche. That's a
is
niche in a way, right?
is like 50 miles away from Fort Lauderdale and like 25 miles away from Palm Beach and 85 miles away from or 80 miles away from Miami International. And the people who were awake to take the red eyes were the people who I targeted. So the people who are up, the business people, the owners, those type of people who are up early, ready to go and ready to get to work is what built my entire business.
Nice.
So building a portfolio of them, getting more recommendations, growing and growing, and then being willing to work as much as possible um, led me to be able to then grow to after 2019, grow into in 2020 a real limo company with a real LLC, with a real everything, growing to the next level.
Are most Uber drivers, I'm guessing, like just independent contractors? I know they are, but without like an LLC or anything set up. I'm guessing, and they just pay, um, whatever, like payroll taxes. I'm guessing
Yes,
most are.
yes. So mostly
Okay.
that. One of the things I would say is immediately once I figured out kind of what was happening, I would say I was only an Uber driver for maybe a year in the traditional sense. Um, Once I figured out where the market was lacking, so I'm very much into details. Um, if anyone ever met me, they knew that I always had when I was doing Uber, I always had the chauffeur hat, the gloves, all the details,
No way.
always in a suit. Every time I picked someone up in an Uber, I always got out. I opened the door. I had cold waters for them. At one point, I even had a full bar in the vehicle, a full service bar. I was always pushing the edge of service. Other drivers would laugh. Other drivers think you're crazy. And I would just laugh to myself because I made so much money in tips because I was willing to
Oh, I'm
go
sure.
the extra mile. People would always say, I never tip Ubers, but I always tip you. I always pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. That allowed me to get clients for life. I've had clients from then, 7, 8, 9 years, clients who still book and they book, party buses, they book Ubers, not Uber, sorry. They book party buses, they book black cars, they book, constant service. I literally just took some of them yesterday, even though I don't drive that much anymore. Those clients have been with me since Uber. And people say, oh, Uber clients are cheap. They're not. Uber drivers are cheap in the sense of Uber drivers are
Ah.
so afraid of providing value that they get cheap people who don't provide them value. I always gave smart water. That was my signature when I was doing Uber. I did not care how much it cost. I did not care how much I spent. I made the money back. I never ever, no matter what I spent, I got the money back. Now in my jet vans, we have top of the line water. We have snacks. We have like a Saratoga water. We've got kosher snacks. We've got regular snacks. We've got healthy snacks. We have unhealthy snacks. We have popcorn. We have everything that you can imagine. There's paper towels. There's wet wipes. There's a sink. There's a restroom. There's everything that you could possibly imagine in the vehicle. And what that does is it provides a level of service that makes you irreplaceable. It makes you irreplaceable, and it makes you something that they want to brag to you about, that they want to tell their friends about. Hey, I know this amazing guy with this amazing vehicle and this amazing service. And I find that my competition is so afraid to give something because they're worried about that they won't get anything back. And if you're not afraid to give, you will get so much more in return.
Wow. Masterclass. Like, that's worth this whole whatever else we talk about. If people would just understand that concept underlies everything in the business world, that in life, really. And I could draw so many like examples, but 100% agree with you. And I don't think I've ever, like, you put it just so well. They are afraid to give value because they think it might not come back to them. And it always comes back, right? It always, and typically it comes back in multiples. And the more you give, the more people give back. The type of clients, this is why that much of the industry has an issue with saying everyone's cheap. People want value, right? Why are you going to pay more than is necessary for something, right? If they're comparing you, it's because you're comparable, right? It's because you're gasoline. And so where are you going to go get gas? Wherever's cheapest, right? Wherever's cheapest. Because it's a complete commodity. And the best clients, the ones that really, and I'm sure you obviously know this, they notice the things the chauffeur had to, like, that's really next level stuff. And opening the door, they notice those things because they themselves get it. They got rich because they understand that, right? That's the reason they're rich, because they understand you have to stop being afraid of giving value out and just give as much value as you can. And the world rewards you. And so it has me, making videos. It has obviously you. And so, wow, when did you learn, like, because I feel like some people can go their whole career and not kind of have that realization. Like, have you kind of just known that from a young age? Was it something that you realized over the course of your professional career? Like, or was there ever a moment when you're like, man, you know what? I should just be the type of client, or I would like to have, in a way, or
there's a couple angles. There's the joke. The joke is rich people love free shit. So, if you can, like, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what your status is. People love gifts, right? So
yes,
the joke is rich people love free shit, and it doesn't matter. Like, if I give you something, you may not want it, but it's the token, right? It's the fact that you're willing to give. Man, I will say, if you're married, your wife or whoever may argue about this, but I know the value in it. Um, here's something that's happening right now in real time. Um, Sunday, a lead came in from Limo Marketer. Thank you very much, Mark. And they called. They This was Easter Sunday, obviously, and I could tell they were calling around. And I am the type of person that I won't really say no. I'll say let's find out, right? So they wanted to do a sprinter transfer from Palm Beach to Jupiter. I gave them a couple of options, but they had wanted to do a transfer from Palm Beach to Jupiter. I gave them a couple of options. This is Easter Sunday in the afternoon, and they need to land in 2 hours. I gave them a couple options, a stock sprinter or a custom sprinter. I did not have an idea of what was going to happen. So I told them, here are some rough estimates. Let me see what I can do. And let me check availability because Easter Sunday, and let me get back to you. And I went out and I confirmed with my affiliates that I could do something, and the price was pretty good. And instead of me keeping the profit, I immediately added value. So I had told them a certain price. I was able to take $60 off that price, saying, hey, I found you a better deal than I even expected, even though it's Easter Sunday. Let's go ahead and book this. And, you can choose between a couple of options or whatever. And instead of choosing the stock one, he chose the executive, right? He upgraded to executive. My affiliate knocked it out the park, as he always does. He's amazing. They love the bus. This is the client the lead who called in is a PJ operator, like a charter guy, and his
Oof.
client is
Oof.
who he was moving, right?
Oof.
So his
That's
client
a good one.
called me saying he loves the bus, and his client said, hey, we'd like to do what we're here for is for golf. We're here for 3 days. We're doing 4 courses over those 3 days, and we'd like to use the bus for the entire time. So what turned from a couple $100 transfer from Palm Beach to Jupiter, we were able to transform into a 30-hour booking in AD, with the round trip transfers, obviously.
Yes.
And one of the things that I was telling him throughout the time is, okay, so there's 2 ways to look at this. You can look at this the greedy way and be like, okay, I know how long a golf tour takes. I know how long it takes to play. I know what the time is. I know they're going to do 6 hours or more every single day, which they ended up doing pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
So I could say, hey, it's a 5-hour minimum, blah, 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 blah. Or I know that my partner will do a 4-hour minimum. So what I do is how I pitched it to the client is, I know kind of how much time this is going to take, and I know the costs and everything like that. But to the PJ guy, the jet broker, I'm like, but my goal is to provide you the most value and to bring you the most efficient cost. So what we'll do is every day we'll bill for the 4-hour minimum, and then we'll wait and see, and then we'll bill exactly how much they go over. So we can keep your costs down as much as possible. And he was extremely grateful for that. He was like, oh, that's amazing that you're trying to do that, and whatever. And
Private jet broker, right? So
yeah,
this
yeah.
person
Mm-hmm.
just, and I'm sure everyone's already realized this. This is like, it probably doesn't get much better than that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In terms of like who you want to know, because that person could get you so many of these sorts of clients.
What I find interesting is 2 brokers called on Sunday, which lets me know that people were not picking up the phone. People were not picking people. So my competition. So I was at Easter events. I was with my family at
Sure.
Easter events.
Yeah,
but I have the
it's
Bluetooth
Easter,
or
man.
whatever. I pick up the phone. I make the deals happen. I have good partners. They're able to make it happen. And we landed 2 PJ brokers on the same day, 2 charter companies on the same day. of which one now has done almost
Oh
10,000
my
in the last
gosh.
couple of days. Um, with that lead that started off at a couple $100, we transformed that to 10,000. It's literally they're literally in the bus right now, going back to the jet. So,
So wait,
you
this was
know,
Sunday? Like, wow, that's wild. Easter Sunday. That's so crazy. But that all makes sense, right? No one's picking up. It's Easter Sunday. You know, a lot of
mhm.
people, you know, even Sunday, you know, I know this business is 24/7, 365, but yeah, there's probably plenty of days where, especially the bigger companies, their office staff have it off or whatever. A lot of times the owner
Mhm.
doesn't want to do it themselves. And it's a perfect opportunity for guys like you. So there's no way. So in one day, you met two, two private jets.
Mhm.
When it rains, it
Yep.
pours, right?
Yep. 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 And it's because, again, you guys put us out there and they were looking and they were in a situation where they couldn't find anything. And we answered the phone.
That's
Always
good
answer.
teamwork. I mean, so look, that's appreciate the the shout. It's funny. I didn't even actually know about this.
I didn't tell you. I
No,
knew
no, I did not know about this.
it.
When we were talking about, you know, doing this thing, you had just said some things about qualifying that I'm like, well, this guy knows what he's talking about. He'd be a great guest to have on. And I'm just, here's the thing. Not everyone would have made that connection. They might have gotten the lead. They might have not gotten the client because you, and don't get me wrong, like you knew, okay, I gotta like you're fishing,
No, because
you
no, no,
gotta,
no, because
no, but
listen.
you do that. Yeah, I shouldn't say that. Obviously, you got to do that with everyone, right?
So what happened was the broker called me. We set up the transfer. Transfer was done. Finito. The client of the broker calls me, and he's the one who engaged the relationship. So for me, the broker, everything was done.
Oh,
So the client called me. So it's another call in. He calls me because he has my number, and he asks. Well, he tells me he basically demands the bus. But part of the thing was I did still qualify him. I'm like, okay, no, we'd love to, help you. Have you ever booked one of these buses before? Are you familiar with the fact that these buses run over $200 an hour? He said, yes. I would love to book it. I'm not worried about that. Run it. So I did still qualify him just to make sure because you never
yeah.
know why people can get on a PJ many different reasons. You can't just assume, you know.
No. You're right. You're right. You're
So
right.
I did absolutely. I still qualified him. I still did that 100%. I made sure he was familiar with the service, made sure he understood what it's going to cost, and then from there, so what happened was the broker called me back because the way PJs work is you get like a credit card or like you might have like a credit with them, like a couple 100,000. So
Okay.
basically, we were running their credited card through the broker. So,
Okay.
but yeah.
Like a luxury travel broker or something. So the end client loved it so much.
Yes,
He
because we were done with the broker. There was nothing else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't like, hey, on the first call, hey, you sound like, you know, we
Mm-mm.
should do
Nope. Nope.
business.
Nope. Nope.
Because
He
at that
mentioned.
point he wasn't sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to see
Mm-hmm.
what's the experience, or what does my client most importantly say about the
That's all that matters.
experience.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
it. That's it. You make him
Yep.
look good, you're in.
Yes, sir.
Dang, wow. I don't even, man, you just blew my mind there. That's crazy. What a cool story. And then and by the way, that's how I, when we spoke last on I think the 16th, like a week ago or so, it was that you said you know, one of the first questions I ask is, hey, have you ever booked this sort of service before?
Mm-hmm.
And that is such an important question because just in their answer there, you're going to get so much information, right? What we'll do sometimes, back, you know, we have some clients, they have a very large fleet, like, you know, 15, 20, you know, or even less, even 10 vehicles, but like, let's say sedan, SUV, Sprinter, you know, minibus, coach. We would, you know, have like a vehicle drop down. And many times they wouldn't have two classes of sedans. Like, okay, you can have your Lincoln or you can have your S550, right? They would just have, you know, like let's say a Cadillac sedan or something, whatever. But we would always list, and we still do this, regular or luxury, even if they only have one type. And the reason for that is it tells you a lot about who you're talking to, and do they choose the luxury, right? And so it's just kind of good to get that data because it can make your advertising better over time, and then also you kind of have a feel for who you're talking to and what's most important to them, right? Everyone wants value. That's kind of like the general rule, obviously. But yeah, some people want the private jet experience, I should say. And so, wow. Um, I'm trying to remember where we were even at. So you got into this industry. You were at one point, was it full time for you? You were an engineer driving Uber part time, and then did you say you transitioned to full time? And then around, was it 2020, 2021? You said you got your own LLC. Man, what a time to start. Granted, you're probably one of the better markets to start, right?
Mhm.
So
No, yeah.
yeah. What was it? So it sounds like you've gotten probably a lot of, sounds like clients from Uber, Uber Black or whatever. Um, what other things, between then and now, have you learned that you wish you had known then? I'm guessing you knew the value thing then. Um, Maybe not. That's more like I guess a principle, but like kind of specific things about maybe that's buying what vehicle to buy. It seems like you understood the concept of a niche when you said people in, was it Delray Beach, that are up early that need to go to the airport. That right there is fantastic because that's almost like a little niche in a way where you're like and generally those sorts of people that are looking for that right at that time, generally it's going to be business, right? It's going to be corporate clients, and those are usually the ones you want. So with I'm guessing your technical background helped a bit in, creating your own ad campaign, your own, landing pages, and you even, set up conversion tracking. I know you mentioned like this is, those aren't super easy things to do
No.
at all, right? And it can be very intimidating because there's just so many options. I know you mentioned you currently use HubSpot, which is probably, as far as like scalability goes, like how big it can do very large businesses. A few of my biggest clients use HubSpot, and there's really so many options, and it has a lot of direct integrations actually with Google Ads, which can be nice. And so that's definitely cool. And wow. So what is your kind of goal? Would you say in the next 3 to 5 years? Because right now you've got this a Sprinter, right? Like a luxury kind of, is it like jet Sprinter sort of
Mhm.
setup or yeah.
Yeah, this thing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. By the way, love that background. So yeah, what is your kind of plan from here? Are you gonna kind of just double down on sprinters, larger vehicles? That seems to be where the market has been shifting for a while now, because I mean, that thing you can probably rent out, I'm assuming, well, like you said, over 200 an hour. I've heard some clients out here in LA, Orange County do, like, I've heard like, depending on the Sprinter, of course, but even upwards of 250 an hour, like even up to 275, 300 for certain like dates, that are maybe highly booked. So what's your kind of, let's say 3 to 5 year plan of where you'd like to go?
So yeah, for instance, for Formula One is 300 an hour. We can definitely go higher for certain events, and 200 an hour is the base rate, but it's pretty much 240 an hour once you add all the fees and everything
Yes.
to the booking. So 3 to 5. I don't want to give too much away. Um, my overall mission statement is to elevate and redefine luxury ground transportation in South Florida. So I see a hole in the market where if I look at the top of the line, which is a Becker coach, and I know that those clients exist here in Miami, I don't see a single operator at that level. Uh, and I don't, I know there's other operators. I know other people use jet vans. There's 15 of us now who have jet vans, but I believe that I am going to push for the highest level of service here. And again, I mean, no disrespect to any of my colleagues. I appreciate them, but I want to be not just the Rolls Royce, but the Phantom of service here in South Florida. We are looking to honestly redefine what luxury travel is. I have so many clients who started booking with me and they're able to transform their experience. We're not just providing transportation, we're transforming what is possible. So, as an example, because we have the restroom and the kitchenette and the luxury transportation and the TV and the Wi-Fi, instead of just doing a transfer to
Whoa,
Orlando,
there's a restroom.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
okay. What?
absolutely. Change the background. So, yeah, there's a restroom.
Oh,
See,
oh my gosh.
restroom. The camera,
That is
yeah,
so cool.
trying to put me in the frame, but yeah, it's a full restroom. Um, you know, it's stocked with paper towels, air fresheners, soap, lotion, hand sanitizer, obviously tissue. And again, it's got a kitchenette, it's got a microwave, a fridge, it's got a day bed. So we're able to transform travel.
That is a private jet. That's a literal private jet on wheels
But
with the
but
private jet experience.
yeah, but it's not just like we're not just doing transportation. So an itinerary would be we do a lot of trips in this industry, long distance point to point, say from Miami to Orlando. That's a regular trip. But
Okay.
what we can offer is you go to Orlando and the bus is with you the entire time. You go to different parks, you go to dinner, you have this private experience everywhere you go. The bus is there with you and then it comes back. So making a booking go from, a couple thousand to 10, $20,000 because
Sure.
able to provide that higher level of service that you can't get with any other vehicle, right? So
Yeah.
to grow that, we're working with the manufacturers of these buses. I've been very blessed to have some very, very good conversations with the manufacturers of Midwest and OGV, but the goal is these buses still have more capacity. Um, there's
Capacity. What do you mean as far as like not seating capacity for other luxuries, like
yeah.
things that are
So
typically not?
if you imagine my clientele, I've been very, very blessed to attract a specific client. So when I started with Uber, it was almost funny that if you were to look through my HubSpot and my deck of clients, 90% are principals and CEOs. I did nothing aside from behave the way I behave. I did not market to them. I did not go to companies. But whenever a CEO would get in my vehicle, and again, keep in mind, I was trying to attract them by being in the right places. But whenever they get in my vehicle, they would convert to a client. I have CEOs of a lot of companies here in South Florida who are maybe not only just based in South Florida. So to become a CEO, there's certain things that or it's traits that you have and the details are important. You may not control all the details, but you know they're important, right?
Yes.
So with that detailed focus and client customer service focus, um, I know that, for instance, about 40% of my clients own these. They own these vehicles. They own these jet vans. And I know there's certain differences. So, for instance, when I had my Escalade, um, my previous Escalade, it was a platinum with everything. Not only was it a platinum, but I was even able to push it. I had live TV in it. Like we pushed the limits on that vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And they noticed those details. When I sold that car, some of my clients were like, "We're really, really sad that you're letting that vehicle go. We love this vehicle," which is crazy. It's just an Escalade, you know. But
Yeah, I know. I know,
you
right?
know, and so it's that, right? It's being willing to find the differences, find the details that matter to your clients. So again, people, man, limo owners are so judgmental. When I tell you, from the inspectors to other owners, they all laughed when I had a restroom. They thought it was freaking hilarious, you know, and now they're buying them. You know, they're
Sure.
competing with me.
Sure.
You know, so there's something there. You know, and the next bus is going to be even further. I don't want to give too many details away, but these buses have so much capacity further beyond than what limo companies are thinking. And limo companies, when I first looked at this industry, looking at other builders, there's one I don't like, but I'm not going to say his name. But um, they look at, how can I make this product as cheaply as possible? Now I understand profits are important, but um, when you look, if you actually pick up the seats on a limo Sprinter, or if you actually look at the details behind these vehicles, they're so cheap. They're so built to the cent, and they're not thinking about the customer. They're not thinking about what's the best experience. They're just thinking about, how can we throw them in there and make some money?
Yeah.
And that's not my goal. My goal is to push what is possible and to gain the highest tier of client and offer the highest level of service. So the goal in the next 3 to 5 years is to grow with the marketing, obviously, but to really push what is possible on the service level here in South Florida.
And the product level, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's the goal.
Wow. Very, very cool. You know, it's kind of funny that you mentioned competition. So I think 2-3 years ago, I stumbled across someone who was kind of just copying everything I was doing. And even the website, I noticed the same system. And it really bothered me, actually, because I'm like, man, it took me so much time to come up with all of this, and this guy's just going to rip it off. And it's so funny that I feel like deep down, part of us knows that they can buy the same vehicle, they can make it outfitted with the same things, they can
Mhm.
copy everything. What can't they copy? They can't copy Christopher Watkins, right? The innovation, the thinking, the looking ahead, the vision. And that's why, you know, anyone watching this, I get it. It's very easy to just start focusing. And I, to this day, I still have to remind myself this. It's when a client works with you, especially the kind of clients you are targeting, trust me, they, like you said, they notice these details, and they notice that you notice that they notice, right? And that you care. And
Mhm.
that's why they want to work with you. Someone else could come with the same sort of offer for a lower rate. Guys that are at that level, no, they'd rather, it's more about the relationship. It's more about, I like working with Christopher, right? And that's the that's the nice thing, because there will, in some sense, never be any competition for you. But I do also understand that it is nice to be a little bit ahead of the game, right? In terms of product ideas in the bathroom thing. That's what a great
Mhm.
story. They're laughing now. They're all getting them. It's a great. It's when I first heard that, I'm like, oh man, what if someone has to, like, isn't it gonna stink up the bus or something? But the more I think, I'm wait, as opposed to going to some public restroom, right? And so, yeah. That's brilliant. I love the bathroom idea, because then also it's just, you don't have to stop for, bathroom breaks or whatever. It's really like a little mini RV in some sense, right? With your own chauffeur and these guys, yeah, these sorts of clients you're working with, they could drop, to most of us, it sounds crazy, 20 grand to go to Orlando, right? Just nuts. Like, who's gonna, but and that's the hardest thing about attracting the type of clients that all of my clients at Limo Marketer and the whole industry wants. The hardest thing is we don't think like them, right? Very well, very, very, the richest of the rich, they think differently. They think differently about value, about all this stuff. And so, but with your, insight in the beginning, hey, don't be afraid to give value. Just starting there, it will come back to you. And I think maybe part of it is we've always been told, oh, rich people are greedy, they're selfish, they're cheap. That's how they got there. They cheated or whatever. Most of that's BS. Sure, are there some examples? Probably, but I feel like most of it's BS. They got there because they just gave a ton of value. Because when you give a ton of value, it comes back, and many times over usually. So, wow,
Yeah.
what
A couple things. When I launched my business in 2020 and launched my website, it took 8 months before there was another C-Suite Limousine who copied me. So, but they didn't know. And what's crazy is that one has gone out of business. There's another one, but they don't know, right? They don't know what makes it C-Suite Limousine. So,
Yeah.
you can copy it all you want, but you have to understand the reasoning behind that. And the reasoning behind that is because
Exactly.
I have been able to attract CEOs, right? So that's the reason why I named it that. And then the other thing um, is I struggle with the marketing in the sense of I need to attract something that the client has no idea exists. So I'm in this space where, yeah, word of mouth is extremely powerful with this. But again, because I'm transforming what transportation can be, people might want it, but they can't even wrap their head around what you can experience. So, for
I think I see
example,
where you're heading.
mhm,
What with search ads? Sorry, but for search ads, they already are searching for that thing, right?
mhm.
Whereas what you're talking about, a lot of people don't know it exists, right?
Yes, 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 exactly. So seeing is believing. I love doing demos and shows, things like that because people have to see it. They can't imagine it. When they
Yes.
see it, it blows their mind. Um, and then, you were talking about the restroom. So we had a client for Hurricane Milton. We got a call in the middle of the night. Right? Maybe the hurricane was going to hit maybe 4 hours before. Pregnant lady, 8 months pregnant, needed to get from Tampa and evacuate to Atlanta. And we did it. We were able to get there. There was no fuel. There was a whole mission, but we got her out, and so it has a day bed. So she was able to lie down. She laid down the whole trip. She used the restroom a couple times. We did not stop. So from Tampa to Atlanta, the bus did not stop. So the 8.5, 9 hours it ran, and she was able to just relax and take a nap, and she was sleeping or whatever. And she had to get up because she was pregnant. She was able to use the restroom nonstop. So
Yeah. No, that's
that same lady has now become a return client. She's traveled with us 6 more times between Atlanta and Tampa and Orlando. So that one experience. I mean, we talk about all the time. I get to see the kid. The kid is born now. So that kid will always have that story. From her parents of that
yeah,
situation. So yeah.
very cool. And by the way, just a perfect kind of what you mentioned about people not knowing something exists. So this is something that marketers think about, and that's why I love search marketing for this industry. In that, okay, you're putting your ads in front of people that are literally searching for the thing you offer. But what about in your position where they get like this sprinters exist or whatever, even luxury jet style sprinter with a bathroom? And so what we've been moving towards, and I shot, previous week's videos kind of more about this. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. This will launch on Monday. I think Monday, end of April. The video that launched, I think it was the 21st or so. I talk about video and images in advertising, and we're moving more towards that. The branding. We used to only focus on, okay, how much money did you spend? How much did you make? Obviously, that's important. It's the most important. However, what you also want to be doing is over time building your brand. A brand is what others kind of think when they hear the name, like what comes to mind. And so for C-Suite Limo, video and images of your jet sprinter with the bathroom, we want to get some good videos of
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah,
And so this new type of campaign we're doing, it's a combination of search, of display, which display is, you go on a website and you see banner ads on the top, sides, bottom. That's display. Gmail ads, YouTube, in-stream ads. Those are the ones you're watching a YouTube video, then it cuts over to commercial or whatever. Ads on the side on YouTube, discovery ads, they call them. All of the above. And for someone like you, especially when you're talking about things that they don't even maybe know even exist, doing a campaign that includes these things is going to be key. And then, of course, what we spoke about last week when we were talking about the data you're collecting right now on your ideal customers, really collecting that. How much is that customer worth to you, right? What's their lifetime value? So customer lifetime value is okay, or I should say average lifetime value is, let's say Christopher had 100 clients and over a lifetime they made him, let's say $1 million. Okay. So their value would be $10,000 each on average. Now, of course, one is probably worth 250,000, right? And it usually works like that, where one is just far more valuable than the rest. But changing up targeting now, instead of just trying to get you more leads, get you more qualified leads, more of the type of people that you want to attract, right? That C-suite, which, by the way, it's a great name because that's who you want to attract. And so a combination of that targeting with display and video, I would say video almost would be the most important thing here. And I'm talking, you want to have video that's 9:16, like a cell phone, right? Kind of like when you're on Reels, Instagram, short form type video. You want to have it in all formats because when those people do end up seeing you or whatever, land on your landing page, website, whatever, you want them to be retargeting them with videos, photos of the thing that they might not even know exists. And so, yeah, man, I'm excited to help you grow this business, and you've really had a lot of success so far, and I'm excited to see where you take this thing, and that's a powerful vision, redefining in a way, almost upgrading. What does luxury transportation look like? And in my opinion, you're probably in the best market there is in the US to do that. You're like in Silicon Valley in the late 90s, right? It's like just booming. So awesome. Christopher, thanks so much for doing this, man. I can't wait to do maybe a follow-up in another year or two and kind of see how much you've grown. And so congrats on all your success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your help.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right.